previous year students from the School of Journalism, Media and Communication Studies in the University of Juba visited South Sudan National Archive in Moniki, Souk, Libya for peer lectures on history culture of South Sudan on Wednesday, 8th of June 2022. The course instructor for History Culture of South Sudan, who is also Dean of the School of Journalism, Dr. Rebecca, took her students for peer lectures to make them learn fully more about oral history in the archive. The main purpose was to let the students assess and understand the information about the history of the things that happened in the past and be able to describe them. A 2-hour tailored introduction to the National Archives collection, which includes 30-minute tour of the archives, was done to the students by the archivist, Poko Musa, who started his work since 1992 with the regional archives by then Southern Region, elaborated more about South Sudan National Archives.
So the records are here, are very interested. You can read them for your research. Okay, you can read them for your research. Anything that they help in border location. They should have border location. Yeah, within a way, Rwanda. Yes, you will find them here. Muslims like me, see, and they are used for discussion. And then also teach you something. Masalas, if you are a geologist, you want to understand about the rainwater. I'm talking about the Canada. Pues, I'm talking about the rain. So you come and get the information here, okay? So by then, during the Mirinde period, South Sudan was divided into provinces, okay? Bahar Ghazal, Upper Nile, and then Equatorial. And then also these provinces later have some districts. Kikel province, district west, and then sub-districts, full representatives. But unfortunately, we don't have records from Bahar Ghazal, okay?
The significant historical documents found in the archive by the students were letters, contracts, transport, finance, documents of high executive councils, pictures, newspapers, deeds, laws, accounts of battles, medical records, and other provincial and districts documents of the southern region that were collected since the time of Addis Ababa Agreement in 1972 to 2005. Among the key things learned by journalism students include an introduction to archives and archival research and advice on how to use catalog and finding aids to access relevant documents. All preserved documents were shown to the students by the archivists working in South Sudan National Archive, except the documents from Bahar Ghazal region that were not collected due to the reason that there were no permanent buildings to keep them in the store, and because of war eruption in the south in 1983. The students' visit to the National Archives was a great way to introduce them to using archival collections and original sources. The Director General of South Sudan National Archive, Mr. Yusuf Fulgencio, said his team collected all the documents from 2007 in different parts of South Sudan and Sudan. The project was funded by United States government. He added that they are still missing some of the documents that were consumed by rats and termites, but he promised that they can still get them from Khartoum government.
Well, we have a lot of documents missing because of the time. and those documents were put in a place where they are not appropriate for storing the documents. We lose some documents because of humidity, because of rats and termite. So we lost a lot of documents. And then, of course, these documents, they are the same copy. You can find them in Khartoum, you can find them in Wau, you can find them in Malakal, and these big provinces, because they were the communication of governors at that time during the dominion period. So we can find them anywhere. But we just want to go to Wau to see the situation there. So if we can rescue those documents from the situation where they are, and then to preserve them in a good place.
Mr. Yusuf appreciated Dr. Rebecca for bringing students to the archives, and he also appealed to the students and South Sudanese to begin to read more about the history of their forefathers.
Yeah, okay. I appreciate Dr. Rebecca to bring the student from the University of Juba College of Journalism. Here, because of the nature of journalism, they can learn more, they can study, they can read the history of journalism, even journalism, and then they can also go through the file that and get the evidence for things happened in the past, and they can use those documents for the future. So because here archive, it's not people say that it's dead. No, archive is not dead. The documents, we made them. When we make the documents accessible, it means that they are alive. You can access it. You can ask questions, they answer for you those questions. You can get any important information. You can analyze that information for your future work as a journalist. So I can encourage them to come to archive anytime they want, because this is only the introduction to archive, and they can go with the knowledge that archive is useful for them. Archive is a place where they can improve their nature of the work, and I appreciate their coming here, and then also I will encourage them to come anytime they want.
Senior Inspector Mrs. Susan Kaini Richard calls on the students of the University of Juba to be visiting archive for the sake of knowledge.
Yeah. That's why we need some students, because we, the staff here, we are told that we can't scan all these boxes. That's why we need the students to be brought from different universities. They will come and help us. Yeah. We have to work and show them so that they will know how to scan these boxes, the files, and they know archive more.
Thank you. One of the archivists, Mrs. Pascal, asked South Sudanese to learn to know historical events that happened in the past.
It's very important to tell this young generation to know about archive, because archive is very important, because it's having the history of our grandfather or grand generations. So I was saying to anyone in Juba or outside Juba who do not know archive should come to the National Archive, because you will find so many historical events which took place past. You will find it here in National Archive.
The students who visited the archive said they have learned more in South Sudan National Archive. The students give special thanks to their course instructor for the fruitful knowledge from the field visit.
My name is Malal Peter. I'm a student at the University of Juba doing journalism, media, and communication studies.
My name is Ajit Daniel Wood, student in the University of Juba, School of Journalism, Media, and Communication Studies.
We learn a lot, and it is very important for us to know the history of South Sudan. It is really very important because some of us grew up in other countries, but of course, when you come and visit such places like these archives, it is really very important to be told this is this, this is this, and this is that. Basically about the history of South Sudan.
طبعا سبب اللي جابنا هنا كان جايين نعرف عن تاريخ جنوب السودان، يعني كان من مبادرة من الدين أو الشباب بتاعنا في التاريخ، ولو تاريخ الهيستوري هيريتج اوف ساوث السودان قال لنا المفروض نجي هنا عشان نجي نعرف كثير. مثلا كنا بناخذ دراسة في الزمن ده عن تاريخ مثلا في زمن بتاع عنيانيا وانا عنيانيا، دي السبب الوحيد اللي خلانا نجي هنا. لما جينا هنا اكتشفنا حاجات كتير يعني عن جنوب السودان، مش عن عنيانيا فقط. قبل العنيانيا حتى يعني تاريخ جنوب السودان من بدري ورونا دوكمنت مثلا بحسب اقاليم، يعني اقليم كده عندهم دوكمنت بتاعه هنا، زي مثلا زي الاقليم زي ده بتاع بور ديستريكت.
I'm Thomas Macro, a student in the College of Journalism, Media and Communication Studies at the University of Juba, the country-based university. I'm here today visiting South Sudan National Archive, and by visiting this archive, it is truly full of knowledge, it's full of great source, it's full of wisdom, and of course this is what we should all be aware of as per now. I'm truly happy to the workers of this archive, and honestly, if you want any data, any information, just come to South Sudan National Archive. My special thanks goes to the deans of the college, Dr. Rebecca, who is teaching South Sudan history, culture, and heritage. I was not aware of this knowledge that is in this archive. But from now, we will learn things that were done 50 years ago, 5 decades ago. We will learn from here. I wanted to say that each and every researcher that wanted to know much about South Sudan history, don't waste your time. We have National Archive here, and of course, original Thomas have justified. And I'm truly happy that I'm here and the knowledge is here. By the way, one of the fundamental things that I've really learned here today is that the history of Anyanya that began early in Tori, the history is really important, because by knowing your roots, you'll know where you are going to. If we always come here and we learn the history of our ancestors, that what they did before us, I'm telling you, we will move this country ahead. We will always engage in things that promote unity. We will engage in things that promote peace. We will engage in things that promote development of our families and our institutions.
The idea to preserve the documents of Southern Sudan Government Archive was initiated by former Regional Minister of Information, Culture, Youth and Sport, Mr. Mading Dagaran, and former Deputy Director for Information, Culture, Youth and Sport, Sabrina Martin. The idea was then later developed by Douglas H. Johnson, who collected all the documents from 1980 to 1983. In the year 2007, just after 2 years of the signing of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, South Sudan National Archive was established for the purpose of preserving history. In 2013, Norwegian people promised to build a national archive, but it was interrupted by war crisis. But within this year, they have a plan to implement their project of building a national archive in South Sudan.